Tune into the podcast today when I interview one of my favorite St. Louis women entrepreneurs, Jill Butler. She's the founder of Red Key Realty Leaders, a locally owned boutique company specializing in residential real estate. She's my own personal Tony Robbins. I can go to her for life advice and positivity coaching and find out why in some circles she's known as the original honey badger. Thank you for doing this. I'm so excited to talk to you.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Would you like to introduce yourself so that everyone knows who you are?
I'm Jill Butler, and I'm owner of a residential real estate company in St. Louis.
What's it called?
Red Key Realty.
Red Key Realty. How long have you been doing this?
11 years.
It reminds me of this quote, which people overestimate what they can do in a year, but underestimate what they can do in a decade.
Mm-hmm.
So 11 years ago, a little over a decade, did you have any idea how far you would go?
No. And just when we started in a hotel room.
Mm-hmm. Really? A hotel room?
Started at the Hilton, the Frontenac Hilton. And part of it was I was starting, I'm like, I'm not doing this out of my basement. Like, I just need a place to go.
Yeah.
And the office space, there wasn't office space open yet, but we thought we were going to get the space close by. Mm-hmm. And I had heard that Bricktops used a 1-bedroom suite at the Hilton where they did all their interviewing, and they had vacated it. So I'm like, okay, we can go there and we can pay for a week at a time, which starting out, that's like a good thing to have a 1-week lease. So, and people used to ask me, like, right after that, when we got out of there, like, what's your goal? I'm like, I don't know. My goal is to get out of the hotel room. So it's just like little by little, you just keep doing the next right thing.
Well, so that leads me to like the first question. What is your business origin story?
So I was a real estate agent. I mean, I've had other things too. I was in advertising and marketing before that, and loved being a real estate agent. And worked kind of a little bit in the luxury sphere, McAfee and Sotheby's. Then I went to Keller Williams and I liked some of the training. And then I was kind of working as their sales manager. So it's just interesting. Each thing, I loved what I was doing and didn't think I wanted to do anything else. And then when I became their sales manager, things weren't going great. There's kind of some ownership issues. Things were, kind of falling apart. And I'm like, I'm going to do something else, but I don't know what. And I was like, I could go get a job as a sales manager, or I could go back and sell real estate, and either one would be great. And then as I started interviewing, I started thinking, there's just something inside that kind of wants to try it on my own. Like many great companies, every company has some really good things, but each place I interviewed with, I'm like, I like some things, but maybe not all of them. So I'm like, how would I do it if I were going to do it on my own? So I'm like, I'm going to try this, because if I don't, I may regret it. And it's like, if it fails, I'll go try to get a job, or I'll sell real estate. So I thought, if I don't try it this time, I'll never try it. So that's the origin. It wasn't some big plan.
Like now or never, right? Like now or never. But everything before that sort of led to opening your own door.
Yeah. And I just think in general, I mean, like every place you go, you learn, and there are a lot of good things. And you think, oh, if I could create my own, I'd take a little bit of all different areas and put it together.
So you started Red Key, and how many agents did you have then?
Well, 0 when I started. The first agent came to join in the hotel room, and I was like, her name's Kate. I'm like, Kate, are you insane? Like, do not entrust your real estate career with me. We're in a freaking hotel room. But it was good. Like, agents started coming. Our first sales meetings were in this little hotel room. It was really fun, actually, because Fridays would have happy hour. There's a little bar in the room, and it was
in the room. I was like, I know the Hilton bar. Like
we used to meet clients at the grill, and we didn't tell them our office was in the hotel. We'd just say like, oh yes, we'd be very happy to represent you in the sale of your home, not telling them that, we've been here for 1 week, but it all worked out.
And how many people are with you now?
I think we have 210 agents.
210.
Yeah, and we just opened an office, our 3rd office in St. Charles. So it's been good.
Did you know you could do it?
Heck no. And I was really nervous because my kids were like probably maybe middle school and freshmen in high school. And I was like, what am I doing? I have to put these kids through college, and I need to go get the secure job. So I was really nervous. Have you heard that deathbed question? Like when you're on your deathbed, will you regret that you didn't try something? Like people always regret what they didn't do. They don't regret what they did do. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to try this. And again, if it fails, then I'll go to the next thing. But I think in general, like we rarely know when we're going to take a risk. We don't know how it's going to turn out. And you just sort of have to paint the vision of, okay, if it works out, this is what it's going to look like. And lean into that. Don't lean into all the fear. I mean, because we go through that even now. When we don't know what's going to happen, you can go negative or positive. The negative's like, oh my gosh, it's going to crash and burn. I'm going to go bankrupt. It's going to be horrible. My kids can't go to college. That's a really negative. The positive, that's going to be faith of what if it does work out? What if I can work with people I love and do a job I love and I can be well paid and it can be great. So it's like, you don't know, you just have to create the vision and lean into it.
Did you have a safety net?
Not really, should I not say that? I mean, not really. I had a little bit of savings that I was using to start it. But again, I think anyone in real estate is pretty entrepreneurial. So I think you think, if I can't do this, I can go sell real estate and be okay.
So what is the mission of the business?
Okay, it sounds kind of weird, but this is our kind of unofficial motto at Red Key is love, service, and fun, which is really what real estate agents do, because love is build relationships, service is solve problems. So you build relationships, you solve problems, and we try to make it fun. Weirdly, I have a real sense of post-COVID, I think people need connection. So I think we were really privileged to be in the business that we're in because we get to build connections with our clients. It's very personal. I mean, it's a economic and financial decision, but it's also a very emotional, personal home decision. So I really encourage my agents to show up and reach out to their clients. And I just think the most important thing in life is relationships and connection. And I feel like everybody's hungry for that now more than 3 years ago.
I kind of felt during COVID, everyone had to stay home. And our jobs took us into the field.
Yes.
And so a year and a half, 2 years in, people were just talking about how their schedules changed and how they were home and how they were lonely. And I was like, my life hasn't actually changed that much. Like my kids are home now. We're doing school from home.
Yes.
But I was still out and working and meeting and talking with people. And I felt just really lucky to not lose those connections and to not feel isolated and disconnected. And that was, as people are talking kind of about like the PTSD of being isolated.
Yeah.
I didn't have that. What are your favorite problems to solve?
Growth. I love growth. I love growing the company, but I love agents growing their businesses. And I really do. I like to look at how can you grow a good, robust real estate career and love what you're doing. And it shouldn't be mutually exclusive, but sometimes it can be. So I think part of it's just like love, like business development.
Oh, cool. And so who is your target market? Who should be calling you? Who do you want to serve?
Well, I mean, so my job really is recruiting talent, developing talent, and then helping, the company function and coaching my team and everybody else. So my ideal, I guess it looks like what's talent to me. And that is, a productive real estate agent, entrepreneurial, and a nice one. Because again, they shouldn't be mutually exclusive. There's some really big agents that may not be a good fit. And there's some people who aren't really super committed to real estate as a career. So it's productive and nice.
What do you think is the biggest roadblock for agents in your office, the ones who you're helping grow?
I'd say two things. Let's say one is habits. And I would, I fall prey to that too, but we're entrepreneurs and we love to run out and solve problems and put out fires. And sometimes it's just kind of doing that consistent, persistent work that leads to more business. So it's just sort of habits, having good habits, treating it like a business.
And how do you help them change those habits or put in new habits? Like
like just pick a few things. Don't think, sometimes I'm a big all or nothing, like I'm going to revamp everything. It's like, no, start with one habit and get that kind of locked in. Start with that. But lately what I've been talking about is you want more business. It's more conversations lead to more appointments, leads to more business. So talk to your people. have more have more meaningful conversations.
Like this one.
Yes.
That's kind of my favorite part about the job is like there's no small talk, right? Like
Yeah.
this is this is hopes and dreams. This is
Yeah.
big stuff. This is where do you want to, where do you want to live your life? Where do you want to raise your family?
Yeah.
Um,
I also think agents, and I get this way too, but there's fear. Maybe it's fear of picking up the phone or fear of reaching out. But I also think you're getting in your own head too much, because like if you want to be of service, you're going to reach out to people. It's not about you. It's about how can you reach out and be of service. So anyway, helping agents have good habits and then not be in fear.
not be in fear to make those calls.
Yes.
Yeah. It is hard though, because as a busy person, when my
Mhm.
phone rings, I don't
Mhm.
always have time to talk. And
Mhm.
so, you don't, it's hard to make the call because you're like, I don't want to bother anybody.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
But it can be a text, it can be anything, but it is like it's putting the effort into reaching out and touching base and offering value. And I go back to, there's a lender I'm working with now. We were friends for 10 years before we worked together. And he would occasionally just call and say, hey, you know what? I just happened to see one of your agents and I just want to tell you, I was thinking of you and I appreciate you and what a good thing you're doing, or a good job you're doing. That would be the voicemail. And it was never like how dare he call me? It was always like, oh my gosh, that is so nice. So I want to remind the agents that if you're coming from a place of being, service, like relationships are important. So you have to put something into the relationships.
yeah, I mean, I would love getting that call. I've gotten some emails from agents who worked like with my buyer agents in the field or like worked opposite our team, and they just send a note and they're like, I just worked with Natalie and Kristen and it was amazing. And
Yes.
I love hearing that. It was it was hard at first to let go,
Yeah.
right? To let
Yep.
go
Mhm.
and let other people service the business, but like those kinds of things make
Mhm.
it feel a lot better. Like I think of you as uber super successful, like in all areas. And I was just like, I wonder what your definition of success is.
For me personally, it's how much fun I'm having. Really. I mean, because you could have all the money in the world, you could have this and that. And if you're not happy, it's not really success. But I also think that's an internal perspective. So I frequently ask people, what's your best memory from birth to 18 years old? What's something that stands out? Think of a time you felt that you had achieved something. And it's always about overcoming adversity. So it might be someone's worked really hard and they saved and they bought their first car, or, they had to try and try and try to get into a certain school, but it was that overcoming adversity. So I really think sometimes our happiest memories are hard stuff. And if
Mm-hmm.
we take perspective, even when things have been hard at work or in family, it's just trying to keep that perspective like we can get there. We'll get through this, and bringing a little bit of, I don't know, like positivity to it.
Mm-hmm. I've always admired like your mindset and your your ability to translate it and put it into words. And I just wonder, like, how did you develop that? How did you develop this mindset? Like, did it come naturally to you? Were you like this when you were a kid? Which,
I don't know. Like I've always been very energetic and enthusiastic, but I also think it's what we focus on, what we feed our brains. So you had a question on your morning routine, and
yeah.
but my morning routine, a big one is um, it's gratitude. So I have gratitude journal, 3 things I'm grateful for, because it's just kind of getting your brain on that track. And then it's also I try to read something positive or listen to something positive before anything else. Because if you really think about it, if I have days where I grab my phone and I read the news, oh my gosh, all the things that are happening and negative things and worry and doom and gloom, and it impacts you. I mean, we can still be informed without having so much focus on that running through our brains. So anyway, going back to, I just think what we focus on expands. So focus on, where did you see something good today? Where did you see someone being kind today? Where, shift your gaze to something positive, and that will grow. And you still have to deal with the difficult things, but it puts you in a better position. You're more empowered and you can walk through those things.
So is it a constant? I mean, it sounds like a constant practice of
Yeah.
keeping your
Yeah.
focus. on the
Yeah,
positive.
I think so, I don't know. I don't know if you want to go down this road, but it's like they've done
Yeah, I
studies.
want to go down this road.
Going down the road, our brain naturally goes to negative. It's how we've stayed alive. We've had to, avoid the predator. So you have to constantly be thinking, oh no, there's a tiger coming over the hill to kill me at any time. That fear keeps us alive. But now most of us aren't in a life and death situation all the time, but the fear can still go that way. So I think that's why gratitude journal works, because it helps us kind of balance that ratio, that there's a lot of good happening, even if we may have a negative bias naturally. So yeah, we do need to, just like, you need to eat good food and drink water. I think we have to also like write down 3 things that are good, or listen to a podcast that makes you feel good, or listen to an audiobook that's kind of inspiring. So it's like whatever you feed your brain, that's where your perspective is going to go.
Do you have a go-to audiobook? Like, I know that you read a lot and a lot of things at once, but is there anything that just pops in your head?
It depends on, I kind of go in a spiritual vibe. I love Deepak Chopra. I love Thich Nhat Hanh.
I feel like that is like Vietnamese Buddhist Thich Nhat.
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
that's just mindfulness of, right now, find the peace and joy in this present moment.
That's not easy.
No, it's not. It's not.
It's not easy. You make it look easy. It's not easy. Who are your mentors?
Well, this is a funny one, but Dave Beaker. So I was an agent and he owned the company, and he asked me if I'd want to be the sales manager. I'm like, no, I absolutely love being an agent. I love everything about it. I love my clients. And he kept talking to me and kind of convincing me to at least take this job and try it. And I loved it. And I've watched him do that to many, many people, that he'll kind of see something in them. Well, he convinced Klaus Bank to become broker.
Mm-hmm.
Klaus was and is a great broker. So to me, it was just sort of, I try to practice that. Like, everyone that's working with us, see potential and help them see it and move in that direction if they want to. So I think that's a really good thing for someone who's your boss, to look for other potential growth areas for you and encourage in that way.
What you're doing is very different from the life of a real estate agent, right? Like, you're doing something really different, which is finding talent and recognizing talent. And how do you even train someone to do that? Because you then had to find someone to do that as well, right? To grow your business as big as it is.
It's very similar. Let's go back to more conversations, more appointments, more business. So for me, it's more conversations, and conversations with my own agents, conversations with agents in the market. Part of my job is finding other leaders and developing them. Mm-hmm. So, I hired someone last year who's been a huge plus to the company as a manager, and he wasn't really looking, and I didn't even know I was looking for him, but we just talked. So it's like I would look for more people to have meaningful conversations with, and you're going to collaborate with them. So it's weird, but it's pretty similar, because you're trying to help your buyers and sellers get to their next place, and you want to hear about their dreams and their aspirations. That's the same thing I'm doing.
Yeah, that sounds really fulfilling. I mean, really, like, that sounds truly fulfilling. What's the hardest part?
Okay, I'm going to be really honest. Like, just, when you own something, you're the person that's got to lead. And even if things get tough, it's just like real estate. You have great months, you have tough months, and just kind of keeping that vision and keep moving forward.
And so it's tough right now, right? Like, the lack of inventory, the outside public's perspective. It's a seller's market. Things are flying off the market. It's a fantastic real estate market if you have something to sell. But if you're running a business and inventory in general is down 10%, it's tough. It's tough times.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
So what kind of conversations, I guess, are you having now to keep everyone, like, spirits high, motivation high, activities high? Because that has to be coming up for you. Like, it's coming up for me on my small little team.
Yeah.
And you're having those conversations 200 times.
So I'm going back to play the what if game. We can go like, what if the market continues? What if they raise interest rates? What if this happens? What if, it gets worse? Or we can say, okay, what if we have a chance to learn things as we go through this market? What if this is a chance for us to gain market share? What if this is a time where we have to kind of go back and really hone our skills and get better at talking to more people, getting more discipline, upping our game? And on the other side of this, what if we're in a much better place than we would have been without this? So it's the what if game, create the positive vision, lean into it. And then, okay, you can edit this because I'm more or less insane, but basically,
No, that's definitely staying in there.
our name of the company really is HB Real Estate Advisors, Honey Badger Real Estate Advisors, because Honey Badgers
No,
are
I didn't know that. And actually, we just kind of glossed over it. But do you want to?
So we're DBA, we're doing business as Red Key Realty Leaders, but we are, really we're HB, Honey Badger Real Estate Advisors, because the honey badger is the most fearless animal on earth and nothing stops the honey badger. And so it's kind of like a joke, but it's so true. Like a honey badger gets stung by a bunch of bees, keeps going. Honey badger gets, bites the head off of a cobra, gets poisoned, keeps going. And it's like in real estate, you get a bad appraisal. Something happens with financing, but there's probably 2 or 3 possible solutions, and you have to be relentlessly focused on the solution for your clients. So we could do this, or we could do this. This is how we're going to do it. Like there are options. So for me, it's like just cast the vision and then lean into your team, and people will do hard things together. And it can even be it can be fun too.
Well, I think that also goes back to what was the best, like, tell me about the best time in your life. Well, it was the hardest.
Yes. Well, and I think we'll look back, and to be honest, like things are definitely better. I mean, it was harder 6 months ago, but I think we'll look back like, oh my gosh, remember that? I mean, I have an early story, which was maybe our first winter and we're running out of money. I'm like, uh-oh. And so basically I asked one of my agents, hey, you had a great year. Would you like to prepay your cap to take the tax deduction this year instead of next? She's like, let me think about it. And that was my kind of like, please do. And she did, and it was great. But I know that sounds weird, but it's just like, I look back like, woo, I'm glad she did it. And I'm glad the idea came in my head where I could just ask her. So it's like, you look back and you're kind of like, it builds your resilience, because you're like, oh, remember that? That was really tough and we got through it. So I know it sounds weird because I don't think we love hard things, but when we look back, we feel satisfaction when we're like, yeah, that was really hard and we did it. And it fuels you for your next thing.
It when I was little, this was just weird, but there was a big flood in my town, and everyone got together and they were like sandbagging. Like there were, we had friends who lived in the floodplain, and so it was like all of the neighborhood was down there sandbagging, and it was horrible. But there was this sense of community around it. And as a little kid, like I will never forget that. It was really hard. It was really hard, but like everybody came together and did this thing.
Yes.
And
yeah, it's the same. And if we're going through hard times now, whether it's with a client or with your team, it's like we can do hard things together. Like it can be bonding and it can be important.
Yeah. Thank you. Because, those are, it is tough, especially if you're strictly a buyer's agent, right? Like that's a tough time to be doing that job.
And I think there's a lot of burnout. I really do. So I think as a leader, part of our job is pouring into our people right now, helping them get some wins, and also just kind of see the big picture of, how important their job is. And, just like, we don't look at the agent that's writing many, many contracts and not getting there, or maybe their clients getting frustrated. And so it's just, if we expect them to be of service and pour into their clients, we have to pour into them.
Yeah. We had big talks last week, and it's really also like stretching the horizon, right? Like this is just a longer, it's just going to take longer. It's not that it's not going to happen.
Right.
But adjusting the perspective and longer horizons, I guess.
Do you want me to put on my honey badger costume and bring the blood of a honey badger? Just kidding.
Yes. Yes. Let's see. Okay. So what are 3 pieces of advice you would give anyone who's thinking about getting into real estate?
Okay, so treat it like a business. Um, it can be a great career, it can be a hard career. And so my three pieces would be, so be hungry, have a desire to succeed, be humble, and be coachable.
Hungry, humble, coachable. Which one of those do you think is the hardest?
That's a good question. Sometimes coachable, sometimes like we all think we know everything, and it's really good. No matter where we are, we can keep learning. And then even when you learn it, getting into implementation. So sometimes coachable.
Well, here is something that I want someone to ask me one day,
Yay, I love that.
which is, who do you want to thank? Who would you think? Like right now, if you were giving a commencement speech, who would you thank? Hard to narrow it down, I bet.
Um, so for me in business, so my dad was entrepreneurial. He was a farmer,
Mm-hmm.
and he was on a bank board, small town, and but he was very much a honey badger as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so when things are tough, and well, it's interesting because he passed away, but when I would take him, would go on drives and stuff, he would reminisce about his life, and it was the adversity. Again, he would talk about, oh my gosh, I remember when this year was so bad, and I've got 6 kids, and I don't know how it's going to happen. And then you say, but people help you. You show up, and this person helps you. No one succeeds alone. And so for me, just like kind of that keep going, and it's going to be okay. And when I'm going through hard times, I'm like, people have gone through hard times before me, before us, and it will be okay. So both my parents, they're both passed away. I loved them very much. But I think just parents and kind of that, it's the intangibles that they teach you. They may not even know they're teaching you, but it kind of gives you strength.
I love that answer. So I think of you as a pretty phenomenal mom, like mom doing so much, you're doing so much. So do you have any mom advice?
Um, well, what I wish I would have known. um, it's a really hard balance, but I think as parents, we want to coach and train and guide our kids. And then there comes a place where it's like, this is where I end and they begin. They have their own journey. Everybody has their own journey, and I have to respect that. And it's even sooner than I think, because I can remember like when they're in high school, it'd be like, okay, don't forget this, and you need to do this, and to get, and it's like, they've got it figured out. Someone gave a phrase that unsolicited advice can be taken as criticism.
Ooh, I'm gonna write that down. Okay.
That was where it's like, hey, did you do this? Hey, did you do your homework? Hey, and you think you're being helpful, but what they may hear, it's like, oh, you think I'm really dumb. Oh, you think I'm not competent. So I think it's again in that it's out of love. You want to shield them from adversity. That might be their path, and that's okay. You have to like trust enough that, going through things, going through life, going through some ups and some downs is going to be okay. And that's part of their growth. It's so hard as a parent. But the less as I got older, the less I advised, the more they'd come and ask me, what do you think? Which was sort of a miracle. Before I'd be trying to give them my opinion all the time. So I try to really think, don't criticize, unsolicited advice can be criticism. And this is where I end and they begin. My job is to love them. And then I would also say, as parents, cut yourself some slack. I worked when my kids were little, and I carried guilt of like, oh no, should I have been at home all the time? Should I have done this? Should I have done that? And both kids said like, no, we enjoyed it. And they're like, you love your job so much. And it gives us hope. Like we want to love our job someday. So it's like,
Awesome.
yeah, no, I think it's like our job is to work on our own, like peace and serenity and happiness. That's the job. Not worry about everybody else's and try to boss them into what we think they're supposed to be doing. And
It's hard for a honey badger not to boss, though, right?
but it's like by doing our own work and our own journey, we're on our own journey, then that's the guidance for them. And really, if you seem happy and at peace, that's like a huge gift to your kids.
Oh my God. See,
So
I knew we should go off script.
yeah. And just remember, like, so if you are happy, so if success is happiness, so if you're like, I feel happy, that radiates out to everybody else.
Nice. Okay.
Sounds selfish, but I really don't think it is,
What?
I think it can sound selfish, like all I care about is my own happiness, but it's like really, if you're working on your own like happiness and peace and serenity, that's the guidance and the gift to your family and your kids.
Oh my God. Thank you. I love that so much. Like, That's what I mean. Like I was so looking forward to this conversation because I never leave a conversation with you not feeling better about
You
everything.
will right back at you. So thank
So,
you.
okay, so make me feel better about this.
Okay, I will. I can.
Okay, AI and real estate.
Is it
I don't
making you
know.
stressed?
I don't know. Part of me, I mean, there's like the future lover in me, right? Like the science fiction reader in me. I'm just like, we're in the future. This is the future. It's really coming fast. It's so cool. And then there's also like, except no one's going to have a job in 5 years.
Well, I don't have a crystal ball, but I also hear the people who are, it's going to hit more like coders. And I mean, it's doing all this crazy stuff. Fortunately or unfortunately, I mean, it's like sales is just a hard job. And I don't know how you'll find it's a human job. I think, I mean, just think about the emotional intelligence and the hand holding and the problem solving. And we still haven't figured out. I mean, I think people thought initially when everything was online, oh, we can just say, I want to buy this house and I'll put it in the cart and I'll get my financing and I'll buy it. It's like, it hasn't happened, just because there's so much to it. And so I'm not worried about it. I think at least for right now, take the good. One thing I'm concerned about is people using it for marketing. And, you can say, please write a property description on this. We have to watch it for legalities for fair housing, things like that. So it's like, this is a good first draft. We still are the person who has a license and who has some liability in editing, checking it, double checking it.
Mm-hmm. So that I hear the broker in you, and that answer, you're like, fair housing.
We'll say this is a great family house. Well, that's a fair housing violation. You know what I mean? So you can use it to help you, but that doesn't abdicate all your responsibility to AI. Can't do that.
Okay.
I saw a funny thing. I don't know if it's on TikTok, but somebody said, yeah, AI is coming for our job. And they'll say, give it a week. They'll be like, we don't want to do this.
I think, do you follow the broke agent? I'm pretty sure that was,
Okay, that's
yeah,
where it was.
yeah.
Yeah.
Take this job, take it back. Okay. Are you ready for the St. Louis lightning round?
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what St. Louis has so many free activities. Which of these do you think is so great that you would pay for?
Shakespeare in the Park.
Glad you said that. Because it's
I
coming up.
think it's the largest attendance of Shakespeare anywhere in the world. Isn't that awesome? And it's just fun and it's cool and it's just lovely.
Yeah.
So
I love eating cheese outside.
yes.
Okay. We're coming up on patio season.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite lunch patio place?
I said Taco Buddha because it's right by and I really like it. But I don't know if the patio is so great, but the food is delicious and you're outside. So that's very cool. And then the other one was the boathouse at sunset. So you can have sugar fire barbecue. Okay, I have this theory, like we can live like kings and queens in St. Louis for free. I mean, like really, we should be so thankful all the time. So on Thursday nights, the history museum's open late and sometimes we'll have music, live music or a film. And then we would do that. And then we'd go over to the boathouse and it'd be at sunset and you get barbecue. And it's like, it is so awesome. And so many of the activities are free. Like we can live like kings.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I haven't done that, but I will. I haven't been to the boathouse for a couple years. Was it closed for a while?
Yeah, I think so. And now though, like it's sugar fire, it's delicious. And then the boats are there. You can take the kids on a boat ride and it's just awesome. Go over.
I'm like, I don't know. There would be a lot of like, I'm paddling. No, I'm paddling. No, you're paddling. No. And then I would be the one paddling. But like I would take Jay. I'll go with Jay.
Date night.
Let's see. Okay. If someone were coming into town, if a tourist were coming to St. Louis, what would you advise them to do that they couldn't find in a guidebook?
Joe's Cafe in Bolivar. Have you done that?
I think I've heard of it.
It's kind of fun. It's like other places thinking, what are other places I like? And they all are kind of have a similar vibe, but Venice Cafe, it feels like Venice Cafe or the City Museum. So it's real artsy, but it's this little bitty venue. You bring your own drinks, bring your own food. and it's usually $15 to get in, and they call it a listening room. So it's awesome musicians. It's really small, and it's this really kind of crazy art patio. I don't know why, you got to see it, but it is not to be missed. Now it's small, so it sells out a lot.
No, I've never been there. Okay. I want to go. No one sold it to me quite like that. I love that.
It's like one of my favorite places. And I don't think most people know about it. And it's like, you feel like you're in a really fun little house party.
Okay. I'm in. I am in. Okay. Last St. Louis round, lightning round question. What's your favorite day trip outside of St. Louis?
Okay. Well, I had two. I think I just really like to be in nature. So Pere Marquette, like go take the Great River Road. So you see Grafton. It's just such a pretty drive, and then hike around Pere Marquette and then go to Grafton and have something to eat. Or even Innsbruck. I just like to be at Innsbruck and, be in the woods or be by water.
So if you don't own a house in Innsbruck, how do you just rent one?
Airbnb, VRBO, and it's a great way to do it because you could stay in a like isolated little chalet, or you could have a house on the lake. It's so great.
Okay, so Pere Marquette and Innsbruck.
Yeah, close by.
Yeah, that's perfect, right? Because you can get out of town for a little bit, but you don't have this major like travel hurdle.
Yes.
Okay, we did it. We did the thing. Thank you